Today's word of the day is opposition, a term we really only use at the end of a game. Now take a look at the word opposition. If you lop off the end of the word, you see the word oppose is in there. Opposition is when two kings oppose each other, usually with one blank square in between. Now if I were to ask you, can white win this position? What would your answer be? Well, you know that term TMI, too much information? This is an example of NEI, not enough information. You actually cannot determine the answer until I tell you whose move it is. Let's explain what kind of craziness Fun Master Mike's talking about. First, let's start out and let's say that it's black to move. Now the funny thing is, if it's black to move, we say white has the opposition. That's a good thing, to have the opposition. Here's the reason. If black has to move, obviously he can't come forward to any of these squares, nor can he stay still. He has to give way. He has to go sideways or backward. That's going to create an avenue for the white king to improve. Let's just say black's king goes to the right. Now we can advance up the board diagonally to the left. We're getting closer to having our king get to the magical square D7. What's so magical? Well, if our king gets there, we will be guarding all three of the squares the pawn needs to get to make a touchdown. Here's how the game might end. Let's just say black's king goes backward here. I'm going to move my king to D7, and now the win becomes really easy. And on the next three turns, bing, bang, and boom, our pawn gets to the other side of the board. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, and this time, let's make it white to move. I've got some shocking news. White is no longer winning if black plays correctly. If it's white's move, we say black has the opposition. Let's see how black can make a draw. If the white king goes to the left, the smart move for black is not to advance up the board. There's no point in him coming down the board. Instead, he should follow the white king. Again, he's not letting that white king advance up the board at all. Now, if the white king travels back, we should follow the white king. If he goes here, we should follow him again. Now, I know white's going to get frustrated, and at some point he's going to advance the pawn. But if your king is not in front of your pawn, you usually can't win these endgames. Here's how black should continue. Black should go sideways, and when you're defending, you should always go straight backward. If the white king travels forward, you get the opposition again, and if white's pawn gets to the 7th rank, the black king goes sideways and white can't win. The only way for white to save his pawn is to go here, and what happens after a king e6? You guessed it, it's a stalemate. Black's king is not in check, and he has nowhere to move, therefore the game's a tie. So back to that beginning position, it all depends on whose move it is. Who would have thought that the outcome of a game would depend on whose turn it is? Now this time, let's change the starting position. Let's move everything up the board one square. The king will go here, the white king will go here, the pawn will go here. This is a very special chess position. In this particular position, it does not matter whose move it is. Sometimes I call this the perfect position, because this is the only time white does not need to worry about who has the opposition. Clearly, if black moves first, it's really easy. Black king goes one way, we go the other way, and bing, bang, boom. It's like the king is the Boy Scout helping the little old lady cross the street. Let's go back though. Let's put the king back here, and the black king back here. Let's pretend it's white's move. Even though black has the opposition, it's still a win. Watch. White goes to the left, black follows, we advance the pawn, and when black's king goes sideways, we advance again. Black only has one legal move, and the white king goes here for the win. So, memorize this particular chess position, kids. Let's go back. This one's called the perfect position. It's when your pawn's on the 5th rank and your king's right in front of it. In this particular position, you do not need to worry about whose move it is. You always win. If I were to set up the board with the king and the pawn on their starting squares, the best way to try to win this endgame would be to advance your king in front of the pawn, keep it going in front of the pawn, and here white has the opposition. In fact, the funny thing is, even if white did not have the opposition here, even if it was his move, you could actually get the opposition by advancing your pawn, making it black's move, And when black goes sideways, we advance up the board. When he goes back, we get the opposition again. This one definitely takes some practice, chess kids, but the ideas are here in the video for you to be able to watch over and over. Let's take a look at another example. This time, we're playing white, but obviously we're trying to defend. Now, I already hinted at this in the first position. If you're trying to defend, the best way to keep the opposition is to move your king straight back. In fact, chess kids, that's the only move that draws the game. Now, when black advances his king, you can go in front of him, and white has the opposition. Why? Because it's black's move. When black advances his pawn, you block the pawn, and if black moves here, it is stalemate, and if black moves his king anywhere else, you'll be able to capture the pawn and make a draw, because nobody can win when it's king versus king. Let's see what happens if white did not know that rule. If white did not know to bring the king straight backward, and instead he moved his king here, now black could get the opposition, and when white's king moves sideways, black would advance his pawn. It's not stalemate because the king moves here. Black would play king f2, he would get a queen, and he would be the one having a party. Now, why is the idea of opposition so important? Well, it will help you figure out which endgames are winning and which endgames are drawing. Let's take a look at one final chess position. This time, I've added some rooks. But because of our knowledge of king and pawn opposition, that will help us in this endgame. Pretend you're white and you play the very logical move, rook to a8 check. And let's say that black blocks with the rook. You have a critical decision to make here, chess kids. If you trade rooks, are you winning or is it a draw? Pause your videos and see if you can figure it out. Okay, I'm not going to reveal the answer yet. We're going to play it out. If you trade rooks, and then you move your king in front of the pawn as you need to try to win, black will play king to e7, and uh-oh, it's white's turn, which means black has the opposition. This is actually the very first position we looked at today. Black can draw this game with correct play. Let's go back. Let's pretend this time, after rook a8, rook e8, that we realize trading rooks is a draw. You might play the move rook a7, which is a fantastic move. It cuts the king off. The black king can't come down the board. Now if black offers a trade of rooks, would you trade rooks this time? Amazingly, everything is different. Trading rooks is winning this time, because after take and take, this time king to e5, it's black's turn, which means white has the opposition. Remember, when black's king goes sideways, we advance up the board. Let's say black's king goes here, we can go this way. And if black's king goes sideways, there's two winning moves. King f7 is the easiest, but you could play pawn e5, because even though black gets the opposition, remember, this is the perfect position, so white wins no matter what. I'll play it out as a reminder. Pawn to e6, pawn to e7, black's king scoots out, we play king to f7, and the little old lady crosses the street. These ideas are a little bit tricky and take lots of review, but remember, when two kings are opposing each other, you want the other guy to move first.